All right, we're talking about not just setting goals, but gaining clarity and then sticking to your goals. Okay. The biggest problem with goal setting is we pick goals out of thin air and then we put them on a piece of paper and then we change them a million times throughout the year. Right. And then we already know like very few people even set goals. Right. But even less actually stick to them. Okay. So there's just so many problems when it comes to goal setting. And I want to help you really get crystal clear on what that looks like today. Now, you know, when you've been doing things for so long that you just assume everybody does it, right? That is what goal setting feels like for me. I was taught how to goal set over 17 years ago, and I have religiously done it every single year. So when I talk to people and I say, okay, so what's your annual revenue goal for 2022? And they're like, oh, I'm not sure. I didn't really set like a number. Like, it literally blows my mind where I'm like, "Wait, what?" Like, it's like they said something so crazy, I can't even fathom it, okay? Now, if there's one thing you take away from this podcast, please just let it be that you actually write down a goal for next year, okay? So mine, I write down on my whiteboard. What's really funny is I don't use my whiteboard effectively. I write it down as like the map for the year. And it's so permanent that when I go to erase it, I can barely erase it. I have to, like, it's been sitting there for 12 months. That's probably not what they're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to buy, like, erase it and then redo something next week. No, mine is just like my huge map of 2022. I have my three goals, and then I have 2023 I just wrote down as well. And it's like the whole year mapped out and it just sits there. And what I love about it though, it's not effectively like the way they thought I should use it. But what I love about this is I stare at it every single day. Okay. So I want you to be thinking about what are we doing and how are we going to get there? If you don't know what the plan is, right? And Well Oiled, we talk about the plan, the people, the process, right? If you don't even have the plan, how on earth are you going to figure out who you need to help you and how you're going to get there? Okay. So I will talk a little bit about visual representation this episode because I think this is really helpful as well. So the first thing I do when I'm planning next year is I pick a theme. Okay. So before we get into the actual goal setting, one thing I do is I really pick this theme of the year, or you could call it like your word for the year specifically. Okay. So I'm going to give you a few options to have this, see if there's anything that resonates, right? Light, fun, patience, breakthrough, aligned, joy, right? Whatever it is, this word is how you want to go through this year. So last year for me, the word was aligned, which is why you saw a big transition from foot traffic to well oiled. It was a scary decision, but it was the best decision. And I know when I look back, I'm going to be able to say, like, this was one of my most pivotal decisions we made in our business journey. Okay. Now, this year, I'm still thinking of my word. I haven't picked it as I'm recording this, but I think I'm leaning towards light. This past year, although it was a really good decision, it would have been easier, much lighter, to just scale foot traffic formula. The FTF program was almost at $1 million in year one from the start of it. And I bet it could have easily scaled that program alone to 2 or 3 million. But we didn't. We scrapped it and we started fresh with a brand new program, which was great, but it was tiring. Okay. I'm a little tired, guys. Like, not gonna lie. I had to figure out how to sell this thing. Okay. Now, the good news is it started selling immediately when we launched it in December, January, right? And around August, it still had brought in 360,000 from that time until August. That might sound amazing to some of you, but remember, I was trying to replace $1 million product, and it wasn't until September 22nd when I realized how to actually sell the program. Okay, so although January to August we sold 360,000, we actually will sell now over $1 million worth of well oiled before the year is over. Okay, it is even more successful than foot traffic was year one. But it was hard in the beginning when you don't know what's happening. You don't know if it's as good of idea as you think it is, right? September 1st, I didn't know this was the month that it was going to take off. I kept thinking, I'm still here. Like, it's coming up on a year and I still haven't figured this out, right? It felt like strategy after strategy and I was just racking my brain. And the reason I say light next year is because we don't need new. We need to go deeper into what we're doing. And that means I get to say no to a lot more things. Okay. Now, your theme of the year, to be very clear, is different than your focus for the year. Okay. It's different than the focus. So the second piece is where are you putting your attention and what does your business need most? Okay. So I'm talking like maybe you need more sales conversion. Maybe you need more visibility or exposure. Maybe you need to master your craft this year. Or maybe your profitability was awful and we've got it and see that increase. Maybe scaling, right? Or your mindset. We got to grow your confidence. Maybe hiring or giving up control. Okay. Where is your focus? Now, if you don't know what to pick, I want you to do a SWOT analysis. Okay. So this stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Okay. What are your strengths when it comes to this area? So maybe you have a phenomenal product, great testimonials, people love you and your product, your program or service, right? It's tested, it's proven, etc. Okay. But maybe that's not it. So figure out what it is. Next, after you figure out your strengths, you're going to go, well, what are our weaknesses? Maybe you're not recession proof, right? And you're worried, or maybe you don't have much in your cash reserves. As you start to grasp your weaknesses, your strengths, you're going to start to see what your focus should be. Okay. What are your opportunities? Maybe it's the messaging that your perfect person needs this right this second. You have a gap in the marketplace, right? Maybe a threat is you're in a saturated market and you know you've got to create something that stands out because right now there's a lot of people doing what you're doing. Okay. So, my focus this year, I'm going to kind of share mine because that will help you a little bit. I have kind of two words at the moment, and I'll explain why. So, the end result I'm looking for this year is scale. Okay. I think this is going to be our biggest scaling year yet. I think this will be the biggest like growth year. Like if I showed you what I've done every year, I am predicting that 2023 is going to be an insane number, okay? And the way not just scaling, but the way I plan to do this is through leading, okay? So for us to scale, we are going to have to grow our team again, okay? And I'm going to need to be dedicated to leading and training our newest hires, okay? So right now we are hiring 2 full-time people in our enrollment department. Okay, the way we sell into our programs is through a consult. We make sure our potential clients are a good fit and that they're going to get results in our program. So we don't just let anybody just add to cart and buy, which means as we scale, we need help with these calls. So right now we are averaging, this is crazy, but crazy for us. Like I just can't believe these are our numbers. But right now we're averaging between 25 and 35 consults per week. Holy cow. Like just even saying that out loud, that is a massive milestone for us. Okay. And that is without us scaling our Facebook ads because we don't have any more capacity. We've slowed down our ads because we can't take more than that at the moment. Okay. So I know that as soon as we scale the ads, we're going to need more coaches. So we'll be hiring more mindset coaches as well as already successful business owners who want to help people show how they've built a well-oiled operation. So this is something new where we're going to be offering this to our current community, our current clients who are in our community. We're going to actually be hiring and paying some of those coaches as contractors that live and breathe well-oiled and want to help teach in the program. Okay. So this is going to take a lot of my time picking the right people, training them. It takes a lot to get someone to really step in and own their role. And that is basically where I see my time going. Okay. So hopefully that helps you figure this out. So I think our word is scale, but I want you to see what's under that word and it's leadership. Okay. All right. Next, visual representation. The more you can remind yourself of what you're trying to do, the more likely it will actually happen. So having my whiteboard is a great visual, okay? But this year I took it to another level to represent our customers. So one thing we do when somebody joins Well Oiled or Powerhouse is we send them like a profit pack. It's this big box that we ship to their home. And it's a physical product. And inside of there, one of the things inside of there is I have my book that I put inside. And one of the goals in August was I wanted to sell 36 new clients in a certain period of time. So I grabbed 36 books and I put them in my kitchen. And the kids even knew, like, hey, mom and dad, we're trying to sell. We kept saying we're trying to sell these books, even though it's not really just selling a $15 book. It's selling a pretty massive program. But we wanted to celebrate every time dad, like he ships them out. So we wanted to celebrate every time like Kent grabbed a book to mail it out. And we put them in the kitchen and it was actually really fun for us as a family to be like, oh my goodness, like dad's taking 6 books today to the post office, right? We would cheer and let them know like another new member just joined and it was super exciting, but it was all, guys, it's in my kitchen. I see it several times a day. Okay. Now, we ended up getting all 36 books off the counter, and we loved it so much, we just put another 36 books for the rest of the year. And when we went to do this, we actually had only 32 because we already had oversold the last round. Okay. So it's been really fun having the kids watch this happening and celebrating together. So, what can you do to visually represent it? I see people do sometimes post-its or something, right? Or they're writing down names somewhere. What can you do to see your goal every day? It was huge for us. Okay, next. This kind of goes with it. So, the next step 4 is rewarding yourself. Okay. It can be really exhausting to be an entrepreneur, especially if you aren't paying yourself or you're not paying yourself well. Maybe you're not taking breaks, you're working too much, right? Rewarding yourself along the way for specific milestones. Okay. So, something fun we did when we put out those 36 books, we told the kids, when these are gone, this means mom and dad just like did really well in the business and we hit our goal. And we want to celebrate when these 36 books are gone. Okay. Now, what's so funny, guys, is like the minimum that 36 books could represent is $360,000. Okay. And this is just in like August and September goals. Okay. So the kids have no idea. We obviously are not speaking prices to our children. They're 7 and 9. Okay. So we said, what should we do to celebrate when we sell these 36 books? And the kids were like, let's go to Red Robin. And I love it so much. So it's not about how much you're spending or what you're doing, right? It's about what it represents. Okay. Now, we just went with it because they were so excited. We thought it was so cute. But Kent and I really have actually picked out a different reward for ourselves. And it obviously should make sense to the kind of revenue you're talking about. Okay. So, with this next round with Kent and I, right? We'll be rewarding ourselves with something that the kids don't necessarily know about, right? Maybe we book and then maybe it's something bigger for the kids too, for them to understand like this is a really big deal. This is like bigger than Red Robin, guys. Okay. Maybe we book like an indoor water park or something once we hit it. Okay. Now, the thing that I really loved about this specifically was we got to see it and we got to know we were getting closer to our goal. Okay. And the kids got to feel it too. So if you ever feel guilt, like your spouse or your kids or whoever are feeling like making you feel a little guilty for working all the time or, oh, you have got to do this instead. It's like, but guys, like maybe you worked in your office today, but hey, mom just sold 4 of those books. Right. And then it's like, oh my goodness, we're going to get to go to the water park soon. Like it just feels different. Okay. So rewarding yourself is so important. Imagine if you were your own employee and you never acknowledged them. You never gave them a bonus when they crushed it. You're underpaying them. This person would leave in a second. Yet you treat yourself like this, right? We treat ourselves like this all the time. So I want you to make sure you are picking a reward. Okay. Now I want to add that this was a milestone reward, not the end goal. This was like an August goal we set that we wanted to hit by the end of September. Now, I will tell you, we actually didn't hit it by the end of September. We hit it in the middle of October. So, what I want you to see too is who cares if you miss the date? Keep going for it. Okay. Keep crushing it. Keep moving forward. Don't be like, oh my goodness, I missed the date. Let's start over. No, don't start over. Keep going. Okay. So, even if you had a quarterly goal, it would be so much better than an annual milestone. Okay. Waiting 12 months to reward yourself is not going to be helpful. Okay. Now, when I interviewed Rachel Rogers, on the podcast, I remember her saying she believed any goal was possible. It was more about the timeline that you set. Okay. Basically saying there are no unrealistic goals, just unrealistic timelines. And I loved that so much. Okay. So when I set the goal of 36, it was to hit it by the end of September, and we didn't hit it. Right. And typically I would have started over. Now it was a little different because physically the books were there. So it felt like, well, we have to get rid of these. The kids think we're getting rid of these, right? So we're going to have to keep them on the counter and we're not going to add to it. We didn't hit the first goal yet, right? But knowing that, and then we hit it 2 weeks later, it just felt so different. Okay. So push the date back. If you don't do it, keep going. All right. Think about it. If your goal is to run a marathon in a certain amount of time and you're on the mile, 22 marker and you realize you just missed the race, right? It's over. The whole thing is done. Are you like, you missed the goal, let's say, I should say this. Let's say you have a goal to run it in a certain amount of time. And on mile 22, you realized you actually didn't run it in 26 miles. You hit it at 22 and you've got more to go. Will you stop the race? No, you would keep going. You're almost done. Like finish it, right? Do those extra 4 miles. In business, so many people, they stop the race and they start over. Who wants to keep starting over in the marathon? You want to finish the marathon. Okay. So keep going until you finish. I realized in that moment, I totally used to stop the goal. I would start over every single time. We wouldn't hit it. So I'd start over. And it was like I was doing it to myself. So switching to the strategy was the momentum I needed to feel like a huge win. And when you feel like you're winning, it's so much easier to keep winning. Okay. Now, if you're inside of Well Oiled, or you're thinking about joining soon, we have our entire annual planning session inside of the November masterclass. Okay. So you can watch it right now on demand. This is all going to be like getting it out on paper and helping you get closer on a daily basis. So I want to ask you, what is going to make next year different? How will 23 be different than 2022? And like a little different or drastically different? If you're heading into anything, right? If you're heading into this next year thinking, how am I going to change this? I want you to stop and ask yourself, like, well, what's going to be different? How are you going to be different? Okay. So, how are you getting clarity? Who's going to hold you accountable? Where are you getting your strategy from? We've talked about this. These are the questions I would be asking. Okay. So, if you'd like to learn more about how we can help you gain clarity, increase your profits while simultaneously getting your time back and getting your business less reliant on you, go to welloiledoperations.com, schedule a call with our enrollment team to learn more, and they'll share with you all the different programs we have. So, that would be probably the best place to start. Okay. We talked a lot in this episode. This is one where it was short, sweet, and jam-packed. And it's one of those to think like, okay, got it, but then not do it. I am telling you, these strategies that I've talked about in here is literally what is changing how fast we're moving, how fast we're scaling. It sounds so stupid to pick a word or pick a focus, right? But when that focus is how I decide, no, we don't have time to do that this year. That's a great idea, but that's just not where we're heading. Or my brain wants to say, I should buy this program, or I should buy this, or I should do this. Or I go, well, Stacy, you said light and your focus is scaling. And this is definitely not what you talked about, right? It's like I put myself into check. So again, this is an episode you may want to re-listen to and use it as a workshop of like when we say pick a word, pause it, pick your word, go to the focus, do the SWOT, pick your focus. Okay. Figure out how you're going to reward yourself and what those milestones are going to be. All right. I hope you enjoyed our Plan to Profit 3-part series. If you missed one of them, it's okay. These are all standalone trainings, but there's a part 1, part 2, and part 3. This is part 3. I hope this gives you what you need to crush 2023. And if you really want to take it to the next level, come join us in Well Oiled Operations. Go to welloiledoperations.com. And I hope to see you very soon so we can start working together on a much deeper level.